Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look, really getting specific on Ripple and its network.
Yeah, not the usual market chatter. We're going right to the source documentation.
Exactly. Straight to the technical blueprint, like a white paper description. We're skipping the noise. So our mission for you listening is pretty straightforward. Distill the absolute core definition, the functionality of the Ripple system from this foundational description. We want the precise what and how so you can, really grasp it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. And with this kind of, let's say, institutional grade system, the language in these early documents is key. It's technical.
Very precise.
Very precise. And our job here really is to translate that, make it digestible, actionable knowledge for you. We're focused purely on what the system was designed to do, according to the people who built it.
And the source material cuts right to the chase. It gives this pretty comprehensive three-part definition right up front.
Yep.
It says Ripple is three things at once: a real-time gross settlement system, also a currency exchange, and finally, a remittance network.
That sentence, honestly, that's the whole pitch. It's the thesis. If
Right.
you kind of pull those three threads apart, you see the entire scope.
Okay.
So let's start with the first one, maybe the most critical. Real-time gross settlement. RTGS. In finance, these RTGS systems are, well, they're the bedrock for moving big money fast and safe between institutions.
Okay, but for you listening, maybe you don't speak fluent Peg, what does real-time gross settlement actually mean day-to-day or in practice?
Yeah, good question. It really speaks to two things: speed and finality. Gross settlement means each transaction is handled on its own, individually.
One by one.
One by one, yes. Settled immediately and, crucially, finally. It's not like batching things up at the end of the day like older systems often do. And that's vital because it basically gets rid of counterparty risk, the worry that the other side won't actually pay up. If settlement is instant, the deal is done, verified, closed. And then the real-time aspect, that's all about liquidity. Banks know exactly where their money is, second by second. They know what they owe, what they've paid. It's a massive step up from, say, waiting 3 days for an international payment to clear.
Ah, okay.
So what's fascinating here is, by leading with RTGS, the system is clearly signaling its main audience. It's talking to big financial players who need that zero-risk, super-fast capital movement.
That makes sense. It directly targets that big pain point in old-school international banking.
Yeah.
The waiting, the uncertainty, the risk, well, funds are just floating around somewhere.
Precisely.
So, okay, RTGS is the engine, instantaneous, final. If that's the engine, what's it actually moving? What's the cargo?
Well, that brings us to the other two pillars, right? The currency exchange and the remittance network. The system isn't just a pipe for, say, dollars. It's built to trade value across different currencies.
So the currency exchange part lets you swap, do the FX trading.
Yeah.
Yen for euros, pounds for dollars, pesos for whatever.
Exactly, whatever's needed. And the remittance network part. That defines why you'd use that exchange function. Remittance is just sending money internationally.
Okay.
Think about a company paying a supplier overseas, or maybe you sending money home to family. That anxiety of not knowing if it arrived for days.
Yeah, everyone hates that.
This system aims to fix that. Take those high-friction, high-cost multi-currency deals and apply that instant final RTGS settlement to them. That's the magic, the combination of efficiency and global reach.
So the whole architecture is really about solving latency, solving the liquidity problems, but specifically in a global context. It's not just another digital coin. It's presented as a specific fix for a systemic banking issue.
Spot on. That's the framing.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about who's behind it. This moves from the what to the who, and the source is crystal clear here. It states quite plainly that Ripple was created by the Ripple company.
And that's a really important detail.
But hang on, for a lot of people listening, isn't the whole promise of digital assets, decentralization, trustlessness? Doesn't saying it was created by the Ripple company, right, in the source material kind of signal centralization, maybe even fly in the face of that crypto ethos?
That's exactly the point, and it highlights a deliberate design choice. The source isn't trying to hide it. It's defining a network that has a specific corporate origin and presumably ongoing oversight. This isn't like, some anonymous creator dropping code and disappearing.
Right.
And the implication of that corporate link is, well, it's huge, especially if you're thinking about banks adopting it. First, it clarifies who regulators talk to, right? Banks generally prefer having a specific entity to deal with.
Someone to call.
Someone to call, someone to sign contracts with. Second, and this often ties into the tech itself, it usually means things like managed validators, maybe proprietary APIs needed for secure bank integration. They control the roadmap, the updates.
So that gives stability a clear path forward.
It offers stability and accountability, yes. But by definition, it sacrifices that extreme decentralization that other projects prioritize.
So the fact it's company created and overseen might actually be why institutions would consider it for something like RTGS, which has to live in a heavily regulated world. Speed, finality don't matter to a bank if there's no one standing behind the compliance or offering support.
Precisely. This structure seems less about being the most decentralized thing out there and more about being the most functional for institutions. The creator's identity really shapes the mission. Stability, speed, clear accountability.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, if you need instant settlement, the RTGS part, and you need that kind of centralized stability, both of those demand extreme precision in how costs are figured out, right?
Absolutely.
You can't settle instantly if you don't know the cost instantly, down to the tiniest fraction. Which brings us nicely to these nuggets of data in the source material.
Yeah, the specific numbers.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at these specific numbers the white paper or description anchors itself with. It gets super quantifiable now. The source gives us two very specific, almost isolated metrics. First, a price point, 0.333, and then this accompanying percentage, 0.36%, and it's tied to this source attribution, Ripple Return Whitepaper.io. But let's focus on the 0.36%.
Right. These numbers are crucial because they take the network from just a concept into, well, a working economic model. Now, super important clarification. We are not talking about today's market price. That changes constantly.
Of course.
We're talking about why these figures appear in a foundational document like this. What role do they play in the description?
Okay, so why that specific? Why, like, 0.3333? It seems oddly precise.
Well, think about it. For a high-volume RTGS system, potentially handling billions daily, the asset itself needs a really well-defined measurable unit size and probably a projected cost ceiling. 0.333, whether that was, say, an initial value or just a design parameter, it defines how granular the asset is. It sets that minimum unit size so the system can handle tiny fractions for cost calculations or even microtransactions efficiently. Institutions moving huge sums work on incredibly thin margins. They need to know the unit of value, and therefore the transaction cost is small enough, precise enough, not to cause friction. Put it this way. If your transaction fee unit is too big or the smallest possible value is too large, it kind of defeats the whole point of being a high-speed, low-cost international transfer system. So that 0.333 acts like a definition of the required granularity for efficiency.
So it's less about this is the price and more about signaling this system is designed to operate effectively at this kind of micro level, value and cost.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
Yeah.
And that connects directly to the 0.36% figure. While that source attribution is unique, the number itself, 0.36%, reinforces that microeconomic design. In a financial white paper, a percentage like that, especially one below 1%, often points to something like a projected efficiency gain, maybe a target fee structure, or perhaps a return rate. It signals the network is designed to be highly competitive, measurable, aiming for tiny margins, tiny costs, or specific gains.
Ah, okay. That makes the whole instant settlement network idea much more concrete. It gives actual parameters that an institution could potentially work with. A bank could look at those numbers and think, okay, if I push X volume through, my unit cost is designed around this tiny value, and my potential efficiency gain or cost is in the sub 1% range.
Exactly. It lets them start building models.
Yeah.
You know, abstract ideas don't get integrated into banking systems. Mathematically defined high efficiency models do. These numbers are sort of the proof points that the designers understood they needed to find transaction thresholds and minimal costs to attract that massive institutional volume.
Fantastic. Okay, let's pull all these threads together for you listening. So what does this all mean? We went deep into the core definition of Ripple, straight from its foundational description. We've established its function is about immediate individual settlement, that critical RTGS piece, specifically for cross-border currency exchange. And this whole machine is facilitated by a network explicitly stated as created and overseen by the Ripple company. That gives it the structure, the accountability that traditional finance often requires.
Yeah, the main takeaway, I think, is that seamless blend of efficiency and reach. The power in this structure, as described, is marrying the instant finality of RTGS with the global need for remittance and currency exchange. It's presented as a technical framework to solve both speed and trust issues in that really high-stakes world of moving institutional money across borders.
A potentially faster, cheaper, less risky replacement for an old system.
That's the core value proposition described.
Right. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. If a system can instantly settle and exchange pretty much any currency pair globally, really challenging those old barriers of time and geography for money, what long-held financial assumption, maybe about national control over money flows, does this structure fundamentally challenge the most? And thinking about risk, if the settlement truly is instantaneous and final, how does that rewrite the basic risk calculations for every bank, every institution using it? Something to ponder.
Definitely food for thought.
We'll let you mull that over until the next deep dive.